Welcome to Math in a Box with Susan Johnsey. In this lesson, we will learn how to find the distance between 2 points, or to find the length of the line segment that connect the 2 points. In the diagram to the right, you can see that I've already graphed point A, which is -8, 9, and point B, which is 4, 6. We would like to find the length of this line segment, or find the distance between the 2 points. There's basically 2 methods that are taught. I'm going to show you how to use the Pythagorean theorem first, and then I'll give you the formula. You may wonder, how can you use the Pythagorean theorem? Because if you know anything about it, you know that it requires you to use a right triangle. Well, in this diagram, you don't see a right triangle. So I'm going to tell you how to create a right triangle. We are always going to start with the highest point. The highest point for this diagram is A. So begin with point A and begin to draw a line segment straight down from A. You will stop when you are straight across from point B. So remember, you're always going to start with your highest point. You will draw a line going downward, and you will stop when you are straight across from your second point. I'm going to start at A, and I'm going to draw downward until I am straight across from B. Now, of course, B is at 6 on the y-axis, so I'm actually stopping at 6. Now, from this point, go straight across over to B. You will have created a right triangle. Pythagorean's theorem states that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The a and the b are the 2 sides that we just drew. They are the legs. The a and the b are the 2 sides that create the right angle. C is called the hypotenuse. You may remember that word, hypotenuse. It is the side that is opposite or straight across from the right angle. That's the AB. In this problem that we're working, it's actually the line segment AB in the formula. They call it C. Alright, well, how long is A? This side, the first one that we drew, and the second one that we drew are the 2 sides that we want to find their lengths. I'm going to call this one here little a. How long is that line segment? Well, it goes from a -8 all the way over to a 4. Now, you can either count that or you can think about it. Or a quicker way is actually to subtract. You take the larger number, which was the 4, and subtract the smaller number. 4 minus a -8 which becomes 4 plus 8, and that equals 12. So either way you want to do it, you can count or you can subtract. Our B is going to be the smaller side, the shorter side. B equals, alright, B started at 9 and went down to 6. So that would be 9 minus 6 if you want to use the subtraction method, or you can count, and either way you will get 3. So for our Pythagorean theorem, we now have a squared and b squared, a and b, so we can now substitute these into our formula. A squared, a was the 12, b is our 3, and we're going to square each of these, and then we will add them together. That's 144 plus 9 equals c squared. Now remember, c is the hypotenuse. Now that's not c, that's c squared. So if we want to know c, we must take the square root of both sides. The square root of c squared is c. The square root of 153, well, there's not an easy one. You'll have to use your calculator. You should get 12.369, but I did have to round that off. So the distance, or the length, of the segment AB is 12.369 0.369. As you can see, I have written 3 steps for us to follow. It is the same 3 steps that we used a few minutes ago. The first step says subtract the values of the x coordinates. Let this be your A in the Pythagorean theorem. Our x coordinates are the -6 and the -4. Now I prefer to make the larger number first, so that will be a -4 is larger, minus or subtract a -6. Now I'm going to put parentheses around that. So a -4 subtract a -6 will give me -4 plus 6, which is 2. Now let's do the y coordinates. The y coordinates are 5 and -5. Now again, I'm going to write the larger number first. B equals then -5, 5, then subtract a -5. 5 subtract a -5, and we will have 5 plus 5, or 10. So the B will be 10 when we write out our Pythagorean theorem. 2 squared is 4. 10 squared is 100. This is equal to our c squared, so c squared is 104. You can use the calculator, and the square root of 104 is 10.2. Now these are 3 steps that you can always follow to find the distance between 2 points, or the actual length of the line segment that connects the 2 points. In many classes, though, you are going to be shown a formula. The D stands for distance. The x1 and the x2, those are just subscripts, the 2 and the little 1 that are lower than the x and lower on the y. They are called subscripts. They're just used for naming. They're not going to involve any math with those. They're just used to name these. So we will take our 2 points. Let's label these. Let's call the first point that I wrote point 1. Therefore, its coordinates are x1 and y1. The second point that I wrote, its coordinates will be called x2 and y2. Remember, a point is always an x value followed by its y value. All right, if we're going to use the formula this time, inside the first parenthesis we will put x2, which is a -8, and subtract. Be sure you put the negative from the formula, and then the 8 is negative, so we have lots of negative signs that we have to keep up with in this problem. Both of our 8's are negative, but then the formula itself has a negative in 2 places. That's going to be 4 negatives. Now this parenthesis is squared, then put a plus. y2 is the 6, and then we will subtract the y1, which is a 9, and then we'll put the square on that parenthesis. I'm going to make that little square root symbol a little longer. And now let's do the calculations. Now you know the order of operations, I hope. By the order of operations, we will start inside the parenthesis. The first parenthesis, we have -8 subtract -8. So our first number underneath the square root becomes 0. Now let's add. This is the plus sign here. 6 subtract 9. 6 subtract 9 is a -3. -3 inside our parenthesis, and it is squared. So after you do the subtraction inside the parenthesis, you will have to square each of these, and then we will add them. Now I want to remind you, a -3 squared means -3 times another -3. That will give you a positive 9. Then we also have the positive because we're adding. So the distance between these 2 points, -8, 9, and -8, 6, is 3. If you have questions, then please let me know. I'm online at least 350 days of the year. This is Susan Johnsey with mathinabox.com.